Mm, Sick. All right, welcome back to the BigSchoen podcast. Today, I'm joined with probably one of the strongest girls that I know and have met in person. She's an absolute beast. This is Sammi, CrossFit extraordinaire. I wanted to get her on today just to kind of talk. We've worked together like as client and coach relationship before, and then like we have like her husband's one of my best friends, so like we have that connection in common. But I just wanted to kind of get her on, get her perspective of like what it's like to kind of be a woman in CrossFit, like to actually do CrossFit well. Because like as you and I both know, there's a ton of stuff out there that people are CrossFitting, but it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're not. Like she's actually really good. I believe she's trying to work her way towards the games, which would be sick. So Sammi, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
If you want to kind of give kind of audience like a little like background, like who you are, like how you got into CrossFit, what made you do it? Because you've always kind of been like, because you played sports back in the day, right?
Yes. So I've always been in the athletic type of world. Started playing softball when I was probably 11 or 12. Played pretty much every sport that you can think of. So any basic sport, I should say. So I've done volleyball, soccer, softball, intramural sports, did some flag football in college. And always been in that world. Growing up, I was always in the gym atmosphere. So my dad has owned gyms growing up throughout my life. So I've always been in the gym world, working the front desk, cleaning equipment. So worked out since I was probably, I don't know, 14 or 15. Never really took it very seriously until I was probably about maybe 20 to 22, around that age. Um, just lifting weights, doing the traditional like weightlifting type of atmosphere. During COVID, when everything shut down, I just noticed I just lost that drive and that want to feeling for working out. I think part of it was Cole and I had a home gym in our garage that was totally just pieces of different stuff. Like we had a lot of bands. We had a random barbell that was like a 20-pound barbell, and we would have to like throw a bunch of weights on it just to get any type of workout with it. We didn't have any kind of rig or rack. We just had to do, if we did anything with chest, we had to basically be each other's rack. Like, all right, I'll hold it right here. Now you go.
Golly.
So it was definitely through that, when the gym shut down and Cole and I were in the garage doing our own kinds of workout, it was definitely that drive to just want to work out plummeted. I think a lot of that had to do with just the whole shutdown, and not just like, oh, no, I don't want to work out anymore, but it was just like, I don't want to do this life anymore. This is terrible.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
have to wear a mask, and I have to, I can't freaking breathe now. And I have to go into the gym. I have to wear a mask, and I have to, sign up, my allotted times when I can go into the gym. And it was just crazy. Once the gyms actually opened, you could go in, but there was, so many different rules that you had to follow to even be able to even go in a gym. And it was just like mentally, I just took a dive. Like, this is just not where I want to be. I don't want to be in the gym. You could ask Cole. He was so like, all right, you want to go to the gym? I'm like, no.
No.
And he's like, come on, let's go. It's like our only thing we can do right now. Like, because everything else is closed. And I'm like, I don't want to. So, but I had someone, a friend at the time, just brought up CrossFit to me. And she's like, I think you would really enjoy it. It's, kind of competitive. You can make it as difficult or as, easy as you'd like. So if, you go in one day and you're like, I'm not feeling great today, so I'm going to just kind of coast through this workout. You can do that and you can still get a really good workout, or you can like push really hard and, be the best, and you can, put the heavy weights on, you can run the fastest, you could do this, do that. She's like, but I think you have that kind of mindset that would just really do well. And it's new. It's something different. And, you have that strength training background of, being able to do movements correct, in the correct form. So you don't have to start at zero.
Yeah.
And you can kind of just go into it knowing your basics and then learn. And I was like, I don't know, because I'd always been that person that was like, CrossFit's dumb. CrossFit's for
Guilty.
I've always been that kind of person of like, oh, you want to go hurt yourself, go to CrossFit, like been a naysayer, 100%. I'll own it. And I'm like, that's terrible, because it's one of those things like, if you've never done it, don't, be against it kind of thing. And so I went to my first class, and it was a Saturday morning, and it was a partner WOD. And first, funny story, I don't know if I've ever told this to anyone, but the gym was kind of hidden. Like you couldn't really see it very well from the road.
Yeah.
And my GPS took me to the building next to it. And I was like, yeah, this looks right. I get out of my car. It is another like weightlifting gym, and it's probably packed full of 20 to 30 men. And they're all like in their 30s, like just, yeah. And I'm like,
Brown it out.
yes, they have like the cutoff tanks, some of them didn't have their shirts on. I'm just like, I think I'm in the wrong place. And this guy walks up, he's like, hey, can I help you? And I was like, I'm looking for the CrossFit gym. And he was like, not here. This is, named it. And he's like, I think it's actually across the street, like right over here. And I was like, perfect. Thanks so much. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this a sign that I'm not supposed to go to CrossFit? Is this like, should I just go home? But I went to the class and walked in. Everybody was stretching and talking. And I'm like, hi, here I am. I'm new here, and this girl like is kind of over in the corner, and I walk up to her. She looks nice. So I was like, hi, this is my first time at CrossFit and here. Are you a coach? Like, should I talk to you? And she's like, oh, hey, I'm Ashley. Like, welcome. Like, I'm not a coach, but like, let me get you connected with a coach. And she brought me over to her and, kind of did a little introduction and did my first workout. I had never been worked out so hard in my life. Like my skin was blotchy from like,
Oh, geez.
it was bad. It was like my skin was blotchy. My hands were like shaking. It was like some of it was nerves, I'm sure. But it was an experience. And then, the owner had reached out to me and was like, hey, let's get you into a foundations course. So essentially that's the groundwork of where you learn the movements, you make sure you're doing proper form, you're making sure that you're comfortable before you ever join an actual class. And so I did that for like 2 to 3 days to make sure that I understood the movements and just to make sure that I wasn't going to hurt myself when I went out and started working out. And, fortunately, since I did have that experience of weightlifting, the owner was like, your form on deadlifts and squats, like you're good. Like, I'm not worried about any of the weightlifting stuff, like, and the rest, like the cardio and the gymnastic stuff, those are skill related. So like, you're just gonna have to learn as you go, but like, you're gonna do great kind of thing. And so that's kind of where it kind of started from there. And it was more of just like a workout platform for myself. And then it wasn't until I moved here to Texas that I was like, you know what, I can do a lot better than what I'm doing, and can perform a lot better and take this a little bit more serious. And that's kind of when I had like the lifestyle change of like my diet, like cardio, really pushing and focusing in on my training at the gym. So that's kind of where I'm at today. And that's how I found CrossFit forever ago. That was like 3.5 years ago. So yeah.
If anyone has like seen like where you started to now, it's like night and day, like
Oh,
big time
yes.
difference.
Oh, 100%. It's very like, wow, that was me. And, just looking at videos of like, just like the movements that I was doing, I thought I was like killing it. Like when I first started, I was like, wow, I'm like an athlete. Look at me, and then, fast forward to I'm like, oh my gosh, like I looked so silly, but it's like, that's part of learning and it's part of the journey. And, I guess that's part of like, I had that confidence of like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. And, I think, that's kind of no, I can do this. And even if I didn't look like it, I still have that confidence built in somewhere. So yeah.
Yeah, for those that don't know, like what are your PRs right now? Because they're nuts.
Okay.
Like Sammy's strong. She's strong, strong. And I'm like, like she's got to the point where I was like, I got to learn Olympic lifting because she's getting a little like this is too close. I need to make sure that someone I know cannot beat me. So I was like,
You're like, hey, whoa, let me get in here real quick.
yeah,
So my basic, like my back squat is 265. My front squat is 220. My clean is 190. My clean and jerk is 190. I did a split jerk at 195.
oh, you got it, nice.
And 140 on a snatch. And then that's really all the ones that I've maxed out within the last like 6 months or so. So I've not done the traditional weightlifting like bench, and I've not done deadlift max out. My deadlift max is 320, but I've not maxed that out in about a year and a half. So that's
Probably
higher than that. So
yeah,
that's where I'm
yeah,
at
it's crazy.
right now. Trying to get
That's
those 200s on my clean and my split jerk, or my clean and jerk. I'm trying to get into the 200s before end of year, especially for my clean. I cleaned and failed 190 like 4 times. So I know I can get 200. I'm just like, it's a technique thing, dropping under the bar faster.
yep.
And then my goal for the end of year for snatch is 150. So that's, the 150 is probably going to be more of a challenge than like the 200 clean, honestly, just because of the snatch is so technical. And it's like a half pound can throw your snatch off completely. You're like, oh man,
Yeah, it's
that's
stupid. It's
so
so
good.
dumb.
You're like, man, that felt so great. And then you slap on like 2.5s on each side. You're like, I'm gonna nail it. And you like totally just bomb. You're just terrible. You're like, have I ever done this before in my life? Like,
The snatch makes you just like hurt your ego so bad. I'm like, this is
so bad.
135. They might as well be 3,000.
It's so bad. And it's just so quick how you get screwed up. So it's so bad. But
I want to go back. So like when you were talking about when you first went to that one gym, which reminded me of like that SpongeBob scene with like the salty Splatoon and then like Weenie Hut Juniors. Was that CrossFit gym like serious compared to the one you're at now, or like was it just kind of
so definitely
intro?
it was a different type of um athletes. So they had when I was there, they had 3 females that actually went to quarterfinals. So the one in Arkansas, midpoint was definitely more on the competitive side of CrossFit. So, and then every year since then, I've noticed that they have posts where they have athletes in their gym going to quarterfinals. And for those of you who don't know, every year there is a thing called the Open, where you can compete with basically anyone in the world. Every CrossFit gym does an Open where there are 3 workouts every week where you compete and you add your scores into this leaderboard, and essentially the top 99% will end up going to the games. But through that, before you can go to the games, you have the quarterfinals, or you have the Open, quarterfinals, and then semis, and then you're going to the games, depending on. So it's weeding out all the people. But from the Open, going to quarterfinals, you have to score the 90th percentile of the world. And so they had 3 females. I remember that year that I had left after it was 2021, they had 3 females qualify for quarterfinals. I think it was 3. And so their gym was definitely geared more to the competitive side. They had a lot of younger demographic, I would say, for athletes there. The one I'm currently at, yeah, I think of the town that I'm in. It's not a super
Big one.
yeah, it's a smaller town. And it is not necessarily it's more so of the, 30 to 40 and up age bracket, who are working out to have a healthy lifestyle, to keep up with their kids, to be able to go out on the weekends and go for a hike and be able to do that without being super out of breath. So it's definitely a different demographic. The training that I do right now during my 6:30 class, it is a little bit more competitive. So it is more on that structured side of, we have a structured strength portion, we have a structured workout and accessories. So it's definitely geared more to the athletic, like wanting to take it to the next level. But it is, I definitely wouldn't say the gym that I'm at is more competitive than the one I was at previously when I first started. But I wish I had like known that that was the kind of the route that I wanted to take, going down the line. So I could have spent more time and focus and energy while I was there in Arkansas during that time, and kind of learn a little bit more from that time period. But hindsight's 2020.
Yeah,
So
hindsight is
yeah,
nice. So what would you say to those, like, because you're trying to get to the games, right?
yeah,
Like, how close are you? Like, what do you feel is like lacking at this current moment? And do you like, where are you at in your training,
yeah.
basically?
So I would love to qualify for the age division of 35 and up. So essentially, I'm 30 right now. I'll be 31 in March, which is right about the time the Open will come around. And so I still have a lot to work on. That's one thing about CrossFit. It's, you master one thing, and then there's always hundreds of things right behind it, ready to be worked on. And so I'll be like doing really great on this one movement, or oh man, I'm getting really strong here. And then I'm not spending as much time on, gymnastics, or, I've not gotten a ring muscle up yet, or I've not been able to do this yet. Or so it's a constant of having to continue a journey of bettering yourself. So right now I'm aiming towards qualifying within the next, 4 to 5 years. And so I'm in the long haul for this. It's not something that's going to happen this year. It's not something that I'm like, okay, this is my year. It's like, okay, this is my year to put my head down and work on those extra things, take the extra time to, you know, build on those things that I need to work on. And understanding that it's not going to happen overnight. Cole has to remind me that a lot. Every like 6 months, I would say. He's
You're
like,
like, wait a minute.
he's like, you have a pattern. He said this happens every couple months. You get discouraged about something you've not accomplished yet. And I have to remind you it's going to be okay, and it's going to take work, and it's why you like CrossFit. It's always a constant working at something. So definitely, like I said, I'm not aiming for this year, 2023, 2024. So it is a longer term goal. And so kind of taking those things that I know that I struggle with, which is like the gymnastics side of things, and saying what would be better, or what would make me better in those areas. So I am like on the weekends, I'm doing different strength, like going to an actual like gym with Cole and working on things like working on lat strength, because you need lat strength for toes to bar, for bar muscle ups, for ring muscle ups, for anything on the rig, you need some lat strength. And working on core strength. And these things are done in, you gain that strength while you're in class and working out, but you don't focus on like one particular, like your lats, let's do lat day. Like that's not a thing really in
No.
CrossFit, in the typical CrossFit world. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to figure out what do I need to do to be better in these areas that I'm lacking, and work on those things. So it's kind of where I'm at.
Love it. So since that's such like a far off goal, and I think this is kind of like relatable to like even like your Gen Pop clients, like, oh, like I want to like live, like feel better, look better type deal. But like that's a long thing. Like, so how do you, because you kind of touched on it a second ago, like Cole helps you like keep you in check, but like how do you like internally like keep that like motivation to grind? Because I feel like that's what like derails people, is like, oh, this is like forever. Like it's not gonna, like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the
Well, it's
nut
not instant
cases like myself.
gratification. Yeah.
Yeah, like the
It's
nut cases
not,
like my, yeah, yeah. Like, so like what helps keep you going? Because like I know I'm a lunatic with this. I'm like, I love that. Like the daily grind, like I'm like, hey, look, in 10
Yeah.
years, like I'm gonna be bigger, like stronger, that's
Yeah.
exciting. Like I hit a rep here, I'm like, ooh, then like I have a client like I literally that don't care about that. Like, ooh, I added a rep. Like, so like what keeps you going to that? And like what would you like say you kind of instill not just in yourself, like your clients too with that? Like what helps you keep that going?
I think I have to focus like on the little wins, whether it's a daily, weekly, or like monthly win. When I'm, you know, struggling to like say, okay, like this is like a 5-year goal. It's like, okay, well, what am I doing like right now to get there? And so I kind of think of, okay, well, what was my goal right now? Like, okay, well, my goal is to hit, a 200 power clean and a 150 snatch, and to get ring muscle ups. So it's like I kind of have to work on those smaller goals, because if it's the long-term goal, it's so much to think about because there are so many like little things that I've got to get better at. And it's overwhelming, and it's like, well, I can't do that, I can't do that, can't do it. So I'm like, it's just too much for me to think about, as far as like, okay, I've got to get to the games, got to get to the games. um so kind of like taking a step back and say, okay, what are my little goals, which are big goals in the grand scheme of things, of like, you're getting stronger, you're getting faster, you're be able to do, one more rep, or, 5 more pounds, or whatever it may be. So that's one thing I try to focus on. And then even like the small things that I get better at, like, um, a small technique thing, or I can do 5 more double unders, this time than I was last month, like try to push through and go, look, you feel like maybe you're not going forward, but you did 5 more double unders, which double unders, you can ask Cole, was like just
Yeah,
okay. It was
yeah, this was a problem.
lots of tears, a lot of tears, a lot of bruises from when that rope would smack me, like bad.
Ooh,
But that also having just the right people like behind me and cheering me on, I think that's probably been the most um beneficial and most impactful thing for me within the last probably year or so. I've kind of removed myself from situations and friendships and relationships that weren't serving a positive light in that way, of like, looking at the people around me. I'm like, okay, who are these people cheering me on? Are they cheering me on? Are they helping me? Are they pushing me? And kind of weeding those people out. And not to say they're, the people that are in my corner are just like cheering me on and like, yeah, you can do anything you want, but they're encouraging me. And on those times where I'm like super disappointed in my performance, or my ability, they're able to like lift me up and give me some hard truths. And like, listen, like Cole, the other, like probably a month ago, was like, Sammy, you do this. You do this every 6 months. You have a little breakdown about something, and then in a couple of days, you're good. You're fine. He's like, you're gonna get through it. It's not the end of the world. We got to change this or help with this, or move that around. So just having the right people, I think, helps me. And then also just putting your head down. Honestly, I know it sounds like lame, and I know a lot of people will just want a quick fix of like, oh, how do you do it? How can you keep going and blah blah blah. Just do it. It's a lot of people talk about motivation, and that's just not. I can't tell you how many times I just go to the gym because I know I have to, right? Because
yeah,
it's sitting on the couch is not going to get me where I want to be. And usually when I get there, I start feeling better, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can attack this workout, and um, you know, do this weight. And you know what? This weight is heavy, but I can do it. It feels a little extra heavy today.
yeah,
And it kind of sounds a little lame, but I do say, have a saying for myself of like, you know, this is easy for me. And I'll like look at a weight and say, this is really lightweight for me, or this is a really easy movement for me. But even if it wasn't, I can do hard things. And so I say those things to me, like
that's the
one time
thing.
I was maxing out on back squat, and I was like, this is a heavy weight, but guess what? I can do hard things. And I'm like, okay, let's go. So I think, having those affirmations, even if you're never saying them out loud to people, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I could do hard things, like just saying that to myself and just saying, shut up, Sammy, you can do hard things. And just going through it, that helps for me. And then just for my class that I help coach, like just being there for them, being their cheerleader, being the person that when they, do the extra rep or they lift that weight or they run faster, just cheering them on the whole way and being that support system for them. And when they're disappointed with their performance or they say, I don't like this or I didn't like that, just being able to say, well, okay, we didn't like that, but why? And like being able to help them process that and go, okay, well then how can you do better next time? And then talking about the things that they did really well. Like, okay, yeah, you maybe did do so well here, but your toes to bar look fantastic, and so just being that encouragement to other people. And that helps me, kind of fuels me too. So
Love
yeah.
it. Self-talk's a thing. It's a big
Yeah.
thing.
Yes. I remember you've said that multiple times to me. So
Yeah. It's crazy. It's so weird.
yes. So it definitely helps.
Yeah, and can't we'll give Cole some credit. We'll throw him a bone. Like if there was anyone, like he's the most supportive dude for her, by the way. Like
Yeah.
that's how Sammy and I got connected. Uh, like besides knowing Cole, he was like, hey, like Sammy's trying to take it to the next level with her CrossFit, but like she like needs some help. Like it wasn't you that reached out for that. Like Cole was like, he sees it. He's like, Cole, Sammy wants that your goal is just important to him as it is to you.
Yes.
So like that's awesome. I think like that support system is amazing.
Oh yeah. He helps
So
so
that's
much. He's like one of the, if he wasn't in my corner, like I wouldn't do it, like 100%. I think he sees my capability and my like what I can do more than I can see for myself. And it sounds kind of like, oh, but it's
oh, you stop it, okay?
stop it. But it's true. I mean, he genuinely sees my ability way more than I do. And it's like, Cole, what are you talking about? He's like, you can do that. I'm like, can. So yeah, it's a big thing for sure. So
Love it.
yeah.
So, which makes you think. So, what was? How did nutrition kind of play into taking your performance kind of next level? It's like obviously there was like body comp changes that happened, and whatnot. But like I feel like that is a part you see it every day. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do too. It's like people work out so hard, but then just like
Nothing. They say the same.
they're the same. It's just like that point that you can't no matter like CrossFit is probably the most like calorie expending like
Yeah.
working like type of training there's out there, but even that's not gonna like it's unless you're just like an outlier, like
Right.
outdo like eating poorly. So like how did like where did you have that switch and like how did that like change your training going forward?
So I remember, so I had started like my nutrition journey about probably 6 to 8 months before you and I got hooked up to start that. I actually asked Cole, I was like, Cole, help me. Like, I don't know what to do. But I remember specifically like in a workout, everybody was beating me and it was just pissing me off. And I was like, this is so annoying. And I remember just saying to myself, like, all right, I'm done. I'm done not winning. I'm done like being mediocre and just okay. Like I was just so over it. And so that's kind of like what started my journey. I was honestly like the heaviest I had ever been in my life, which was a little scary. I was like 180 and it was like, oh my gosh, I'm 20 pounds away from 200. And that freaked me out. And so I was like, okay, I need to make a change. I need to figure this out. And the 180 wasn't like just pure muscle like that. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm just jacked. Like, no, I had some weight that I needed to lose. Um, so I started that journey. I had started losing probably close to about 10 pounds with what Cole was helping me with, but it was so bland, so bland. It was just chicken and rice,
With a
basically.
robot.
It was so bad. Anyways, but once I started really dialing in that nutrition and seeing how getting the proper amount of protein and carbs and fats was actually helping fuel me, like I never once felt like oh, I just feel like I'm so depleted. Like I can't ever work out. Like it's just so, because I was properly fueling myself. And that was, from your coaching of like, hey, we need to do this. Like you being able to help me through that really opened my eyes to the fact that you need to eat, right? Like you have
Yeah.
to. And it doesn't have to be chicken and rice every day. It can be enjoyable foods and still be able to fuel your body and be able to work out and lift heavy. Like I never, on my, cut where I was losing weight, I never lost strength. Like I never like went down in my ability to perform in that sense. And so that really opened my eyes to, okay, food is so important to recovery, to performance, to just feeling good in your day to day of like not being like, oh, I'm so exhausted. Like I can't, I'm so sore. I'm so this. And, seeing others, like I've talked to some people and they'll say, oh yeah, well, I had this, and this. I'm like, so where's your protein at? they're like, they're like, oh, well, I'm doing this. I'm like, yeah, that's like 40 grams, like for your day. Like that's wild to me,
It's like, whoa.
how, and I've talked to some people who are eating like 1,400 calories a day. And it's like just a couple, like a piece of bread and, a chicken breast. And you're like, okay,
Buddy.
how are you functioning? And then they talk about my head is pounding. I can't do this. This weight is so heavy. I'm like, yeah, because you're not fueling your body. And it's just so important to fuel your body correctly and making sure that you're getting the appropriate amount of carbs and proteins and fats. And you really, when you start to transition your way of thinking of like, I'm doing this to perform better and feel better while I am doing those things, it's so much easier to just eat the food, right? And I know that's not the case for everybody. There's, other factors at play, but like for me, it was so much easier when I started seeing how I felt better. When I started losing weight and it was easier for me to run, it was easier for me to, do bar muscle ups and pull ups. And it's like, oh, it's like I'm taking a 10-pound weight vest off and, now I'm able to do pull-ups properly. Like, I'm able to do it without a struggle. And so just feeling your body and feeling better when you're actually eating is like, oh, that's why we do
That's the
that.
thing.
That makes sense. So yeah.
So, yeah, and it's like because we didn't even start out like with a cut. Like we started out like establishing like maintenance, like getting like hitting our numbers first, and then going into it.
Yep,
So yeah,
exactly.
that's key. I like that. And it's okay. And I think people will probably think that all you do is coach. Sammy like actually works a real job, like an adult.
Yeah.
Unlike me over here, I work in my pajamas 24/7. Um, so she like, how were you able to balance that and like training at such a high level and hitting your meals? Like, what would you say was like the key thing? Because I know, and it changed when your like schedule got flipped, like when you
Yes.
changed
Okay.
jobs, moved, and all that.
So at one point I was working, so it's so much easier for me to eat and hit all the things that I need to hit when I'm working at home. So for a while there, I was working full time from home. And so I could like get up and because I hate reheated chicken. Like
That's the worst.
makes me just disgusted. Okay. So it was better for me to be able to eat my meals and enjoy my meals when I could make the chicken fresh, like in my air fryer or like, on the grill or something like that. Um, so for that, it was somewhat easy. I mean, I just kind of get in a rhythm. I know for me, I can't eat anything super heavy like 2 hours before I work out. And so kind of figuring out like what sits on my stomach well and what doesn't. And that was kind of trial and error. And, okay, well, like my last meal needs to be at this time of the day, like my last big meal, and then a snack before, maybe a snack after my workout. And so kind of figuring that out. But then when I started going, I got another job and I was working in the office. That was like, oh my gosh, like what am I gonna do? Now I've got to like meal prep and I've got to like bring all my 18,000 snacks with me and like, oh my gosh. And so it was had to get in a rhythm of, Cole and I would prep the chicken, and then Cole would go and grill it. Like we would have just two like full things of grill, like just bunch of chicken. So then I'd go in and I'd cut it up and make my, whether it was noodles or rice or, potato or whatever. So I had to prep that way. And then I had to figure out, again, kind of like eating times was different for me, because it was, okay, well, now I can't eat at this time because I'll be driving to the gym at this time. So now I want to eat earlier or have to eat after. So, kind of just figuring that out, what works best for me, because that doesn't just work for everybody. So it wasn't really like hey, what did you do? And that works for me. Like Cole, he can literally eat all 3 meals like back to back. And he's like, I'm good. And it's like,
okay, buddy.
wow. And for me, I'm like, I can't do that. Like I have to like space mine out. And so now being back at home and working, I'm able to eat my breakfast, do that, have my snack, drink my coffee, like enjoy eating meals at my pace. And it's really like I feel like I've trained my body to be hungry at certain times of the day now, because that's when I eat now. And because like I said, I can't eat too far before my workout, because it'll be too heavy on my stomach, and then I get a stitch in my side, or I'm like, oh, I feel so like groggy or whatever. So definitely just figuring out my schedule, the workout schedule, and all of that. It's not super easy, but you make it work with, these are my current circumstances, and just kind of make it work with what I got. So it's kind of what I've been doing.
Planning it out. Mind blowing stuff.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow. Crazy. Yeah.
So last thing I want to ask you is, so with you being like in the CrossFit world, like what how did what two like big misconceptions do people like really get wrong about, one, like being strong as a woman, and then two, like CrossFit in general, and kind of like also like CrossFit for females? Because I know like people will all just like immediately think, oh, like Tia Toomey or whatever, like just chiseled right, like, and like I don't want to look like that at all, and it's like you're probably never going to look like that.
Yeah, you probably
Like,
won't. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. With that, first with just CrossFit in general, people think, oh, you're gonna get hurt. Like that's the immediate response. It's like, oh, I just don't want to get hurt. And I'm like, okay, well, you can get hurt walking down the stairs. You can twist your ankle walking outside. Like, you're not gonna go outside. Like, okay.
yeah,
But I think that's a really common misconception of like, oh, I'm gonna get hurt while I'm there, or I could never do those things. The thing about CrossFit is that every single movement is scalable. So if you can't do a certain movement, if you can't do pull-ups, that's okay. We can do banded pull-ups, we can do jumping pull-ups, we can do other kinds of movements to get you to the point where you can maybe do a pull-up one day, and so like that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions first, is like, I can't do that, and I wouldn't be able to physically do any of it, or I'm going to get hurt doing it. And if you have a good coach, they're not going to let you repeatedly do a movement with incorrect form, right? Like if I see someone doing something that's going to hurt them, I stop them and say, hey, what you're doing right now is rounding your back when you're doing a deadlift. You're going to hurt yourself. Let's like drop the bar, either drop the weight and just do the bar and get proper form, or whatever it may be. So that's the first like misconception. And then as far as like women in the world of CrossFit, I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to look like Tia Toomey, or I'm going to be like this girl over here who's she's super jacked, and she's got like, coconut shoulders where they're just like rounded perfectly, right? And it's like, yeah, those are some really nice shoulders, but you probably won't train and eat the way that you have to do in order to get those things. And if you are, then you want those kinds of things, right? And so it's like,
I like that.
you're not just gonna like go, okay, please give me coconut shoulders, amen, and then boom, you got like these beautiful rounded shoulders. Like that's not how it works. And so I think with you know women who come into the CrossFit world or just like workout in general, they just think that they're going to be just manly. And that's unfortunate. That's something you have to combat. I feel like every day when you talk to someone who's never been in that world and never done that type of like workout before. And it's honestly like one of those things that's like, oh, well, you won't, but you will have a good time. And just come on and
You
try
got
it.
it in you.
It's like you yeah, me too. I wish I looked like her too. And I train really hard, like
Yep.
so, it's just one of those things that I feel like as a society, a lot of people have this misconception of like, okay, if I just pick up a weight, I'm gonna look like that. But also this whole like wanting to look tone, like these pictures and these like models of what people go, oh my gosh, I'd love to look like her. It's not cardio. It's not just running and eating an almond for breakfast. It's
2 almonds.
like you have to lift weights because you can lose all the fat that you want, but if you have zero muscle underneath that fat, you're just going to have arms and they're going to just be no form to them,
Yeah, you look like a boiled hot dog. That's the analogy I use every time. I'm like, you look like a boiled hot dog.
Yes,
Rip.
literally. And when I was in the office working, I had this shirt that, here, so my arms were openly exposed. And I had like 3 girls come to me afterwards and say, oh my gosh, like, what is your arm workout? What do you do for your arms? What kind of arm workout do you do? Like, we want to do it. It's like CrossFit 5 days a week. Like, I don't have a specific, arm focused day. Like, I don't have an arm day. I don't have a back day. I don't have this day. It's just I CrossFit 4 to 5 times a week. And over time, with gaining muscle and losing weight, I have those defined arms and the legs and the back and this and that. But it's like it took me years to develop that, right? And it's not a quick arm workout that you can do to get you
Got it.
like, so it's, and people, unfortunately, people just don't want to put in the work either with that. So, but yeah, that's kind
Well
of
said.
not what you asked, but that's fine.
Love it. Well said. Well, Sammi, thanks for coming on. For people that like want to reach out like for coaching and stuff, or like have any questions like CrossFit like related, like what would be the best like route to like connect with you?
Probably could reach out on Instagram, or Facebook. It's my username on Instagram is SAMMIK Jordan, so Sammi K Jordan. And I have a bunch of stuff on there with me lifting and stuff, so you could, I'm not lying about doing CrossFit, and I'm on there all the time. So, if you ever have any questions or anything, I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone has. It's one of my biggest passions in life. So it's not just for me that I have a passion for, but for others. And just seeing people accomplish their goals and, hitting their lifts or, getting their first pull up or whatever, that's just as exciting to see as it is for me to do my lifts and my, movements and stuff. So I'm more than happy to help or talk to anyone who is interested, but not sure where to start. So.
Awesome. And I'll link that below. So
Awesome.
we'll have all that. Well, thanks for coming on. Tell Cole I said hey.
I will. Thanks
Maybe
so
we'll let
much.
him get on one time.
Oof. Yeah. Well, you guys can just debate about cardio the whole time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, love it.
All right.
Well, sweet. Well, all righty. Well, appreciate you.
All right. I will talk to you later.
See ya.
All right. Bye.